Hi, welcome new video of mine. Today's subject is sexual harassment, and for most people that happens on the work floor, for most women, but also for men. And although we have had the hashtag #MeToo movement years ago already, um, still change is far from happening, real change. And when I say real change, I mean not that companies didn't send to their employees emails saying like, hey, if you're experiencing sexual harassment or inappropriate behavior from a colleague, please contact the HR. Or like in certain countries, they have a confidence person. So it's a specific person who may be an HR person, who may be somebody else. Many companies have both male and female, at least one male and one female person who is such a designated person where you can go with your complaints and you can have a talk with the person to ask for advice and also make an official complaint. Talking to such a person also means that HR may not be directly involved. You may still be able to just ask for advice or, like I said, anonymously report a complaint, report an abuse and an offense, an inappropriate behavior, inappropriate messages like dick pics or insinuations or requests or hinting towards like a colleague who or a boss, which is even worse, who's like, hey, why don't we go have that drink and things like that that you do not appreciate. And the reason I'm making this video now is that in the Netherlands there have been two cases in the last month of large scale scandals. When I say large scale, one is the company organizing The Voice. Uh, it's some music contest, something, something. I don't watch it, but I heard of it. And apparently, there it was systematic, the sexual intimidation, and it was across the whole organization. It was happening very regularly. And so several famous people got accused and got exposed, got outed, and many sponsors withdrew from the program. So it's even a question if the program will still be running next season or not. The second case was actually the one that I heard more about because I love football and I have my favorite team, Ajax, which is from Amsterdam. And the technical director there got accused. And in this case, it was a newspaper that came out with the information that had interviewed 11 female employees, current and past employees. And the feedback was of most of them that if they mentioned something about it, they got ignored. And those who didn't say anything because they didn't want to lose their job. And if you're a single mom, for example, that's a risk you don't want to take. So you basically squeezed between, do I get the shit from this colleague of mine or from my boss, which is even worse, or do I lose my income? And that's a horrible choice to make. It's a choice that should not be there. It should not be a choice. It should be simply like, I should report this and action needs to be taken. And I'm not saying that everyone should always immediately be fired when somebody complains. No, they should investigate. And maybe there's a misunderstanding, but if it's clear that is sexual harassment, then proper actions need to be taken. And so I let this sink in, and I was shocked because from the sports side of the thing, this guy leaving is very bad for the club because he's responsible for the past 10 years, the team doing this. From a humane perspective, it's also very bad because many female employees have not felt safe within the company. And that's unacceptable. And I read the whole article, which went quite in depth, also regarding what the complaints were about. And I noticed something. And what I noticed led to the second decision I took. So the first decision I took was um, in my coaching practice, I have been helping women with dealing with sexual issues, with sexual trauma as well, for for many years already. But what I feel that needs to be done now is to create a safe space for women who did not get raped, but who experience this kind of sexual assault, the emotional sexual assault, the verbal sexual assault, because it's often being ignored or dismissed like, you were not raped, come on, just words, ignore it. But that's not how it works, because these kind of insinuations can really hurt a person. And if there is power involved, so it is your boss, it's even worse because you really get under pressure. And some women collapse under this pressure. They do end up having sex just to keep their job because they're not self-confident enough to say, fuck you. Or they don't see any possibility to find another job because they don't have the money. And so they don't want to have the risk that they get fired by complaining. And so I want to create a safe space for these women, but also men, because there are also men who get sexually harassed by women or by other men. Yeah, you don't hear about this often in the media, but this is happening. Just like physical abuse at home can also be the woman hitting the man, not only men hitting women. Yeah, the numbers are different, but the numbers should not be ignored. So if you're a man or a woman who's experiencing sexual harassment at work and who needs counseling, who needs advice, I can help. I do not know all the juridical things of every country, but I have worked within HR and for even a longer period very close with HR, representing the employees. So I know what is possible and I can help find the right way for you to deal with this. Maybe it's not worth fighting the fight within the company because maybe it's a company-wide issue, but maybe it is. But the important thing is that you improve the quality of your life, one way or another. And that is where I come in. That is where I can help you. Often, somebody becomes a victim because the person has a wound already, has a fear, and the predator can smell that, and that's why there is the attack. So if this happened to you, and especially if it happened more than once, maybe there is something within you that you need to work on. because it's just like bullying at school or at work, or people giving you bullshit. If you're insecure, you're very likely to get crap from people. But if you manage to work on your insecurities, it doesn't mean you have a big mouth or you have a lot of muscle, or no. If you're self-confident, then people will not give you bullshit, because the predators don't feel like they can get you, they can catch you. So they will walk away and go bother somebody else. This is why I was never robbed on the street, where my neighbor got robbed in the neighborhood, and I never experienced anything. Not because I'm a man, she was a woman, because also the few girlfriends I had living in that apartment, none of them got bothered. My neighbor was very insecure, a very insecure woman who was afraid of, oh, this may happen, oh, there may be danger, there may be danger there. So if that is how you walk in the street, then of course a predator will come. This doesn't mean that it's your fault that somebody is assaulting you or is abusing you. Not at all. But you can work on yourself to reduce the chance of anybody attacking you in any way, sexually or bullying or anything. The second thing that I would like to do is to work with primarily men, most probably adolescents or youngsters in their 20s, on how to become or how to behave as a real man. Because what we see is that during our teens, we have a lot of hormones, and everyone has been experiencing things. And so there is the need for sex, the desire. But we have no idea how to manage this, how to manage all that energy that's going through us. And we're young, so we haven't learned how to communicate, how to interact. And so when you have somebody with, let's say, football players, a football player who has all these hormones, but at a certain moment he has money and fame. Wow, he's the man. So now he thinks like, all the women are like, oh, please, do you want to be my boyfriend? And so they think they can sleep with any woman. And this is actually literally what happened with this technical director of Ajax. He never grew up. He started to earn money. He started to become famous. But his behavior was still, at least in this part, was still a 16-year-old. He was very good in negotiating business deals, things like that. But when it comes to sexuality, he was still a 16-year-old. And to be honest, if you look around, most men are still 16-year-olds when it comes to sexuality. Put a group of men together, average group of men together, and listen to their jokes and comments. They're almost identical to the jokes and comments made by 16-year-olds. Sexual, but without any respect. Just like, a woman is somebody you can fuck. So if you like that woman, just go fuck her, or just go tell her, or just grab her. Or that is the kind of language that 16-year-olds are using amongst each other. But also adults who didn't grow, who didn't grow into real mature men. And society is not helping with this at all. Yes, there's the hashtag #MeToo movement. And so enforcement of laws becomes more a thing. But putting laws in place is not solving the problem. Yes, some may be afraid, like, oh shit, now they're going to apply the law, so maybe I get caught and I get in trouble with the law or I lose my job. But that's not a solution, because the person will then try to find a way to do it elsewhere where there is not a boss who can fire him, or I don't know, find another solution. But if we work on educating people, teaching them how to be a mature man, and that there is not it's not an issue that you have your hormones, it's not an issue that you want to have sex, that you want to make love with women, that is not the problem. But learn how to channel that energy, how to communicate, how to listen to the woman, how to observe the woman, to actually be able to have a proper communication. And then it's possible. I had my period in my somewhere in my 30s that I was having many different women, but there was no disrespect because I had learned how to communicate. So I don't know, during one summer, 10, 15 women, it was all consensual sex. I wouldn't like to re-experience that period, but at least I know that none of them was upset. Actually, there was one woman upset because I didn't sleep with her. I didn't try to do anything, and she was actually upset because we had a date and I didn't do anything, and she was upset. She felt offended that I didn't try anything. And I was like, Jesus, I'm being a gentleman. And then I get punished for being a gentleman. But people need to learn how to communicate. And I believe also women need to learn to communicate, because society is also teaching lies on how to communicate, that's okay for a woman to flaunt all her sexuality and use her sexuality to get things done from men. But that's because these men are still cavemen, they're still 16-year-olds. So if somebody is showing a big décolleté, is like, would you like to do something for me? Yeah, okay, then that is also bullshit. That also needs to change. People need to communicate normally with each other. It doesn't mean you cannot dress sexy or so. No, but it's about what message you transmit. How do you communicate with each other? And I'm sure there are plenty of women, and probably I will be cooperating with one or two of them, who can also teach women how to communicate when it comes to their sexuality. I'm not a woman, so I can share with women how men interpret things. So I have several female friends who ask me, like, okay, Lotfi, you're a man, please tell me, how should I interpret this? What does he mean? What does he want from me now? And I tell you, okay, what is he saying? What is he doing? Okay, that means that, that means that, that means that. And often it's still the caveman behavior that I know, because I was there as well. I mean, I only grew out of it in the last few years. And it took me a while to grow out of it because I didn't have the right examples for very long. And even the women I was with also could not teach me what I needed to know. So I got all the wrong examples during the first 30 plus years of my life. And only later I started to meet women who were not afraid to express their sexuality, but knew how to do it in a balanced way, in a good way. And that's how I learned to adjust to that frequency myself. And I had to let go of my own issues that I had to heal my own wounds. So in the end, we all need to heal our wounds. So if you're a man or a woman and you're dealing with one of the issues I mentioned, or maybe you have a friend who you see is struggling with this, or maybe it's your kids, and you have no clue how to teach your kids to behave in a more balanced way because you were not told by your parents how to behave. And social media is showing you the wrong things. I mean, Instagram is leading to anorexia apparently for girls. There was a research was done. Magazines, most of them, they're just telling you the wrong things. If you connect with our hearts first, and then we act through our hearts, things become differently. Things change. So I encourage you to talk about this with your friends already. And if you need help, please come to me. If you want to cooperate with me, please come to me, contact me. Because this is something that we need to join forces on. Men and women need to work together to educate our youth, to educate also the 30, 40, and 50-year-olds who realize like, I'm running into certain issues. Maybe there's something I can change. Maybe it is because somebody is addicted to sex. And sex addiction is diagnosed very often wrongly when it's not actually there. Sex addiction, because most men we could label as addicted to sex, but it is because they didn't learn how to channel their energy, didn't learn how to communicate, didn't learn how to embody that energy and what to do with it. And I've been lucky. I met a few very good people who could teach me these things and with whom I could practice to exercises or in a love relationship, practicing and learning through communicating. So please join me in this, either for your own benefit or to help make a difference. I'm looking forward to your feedback. See you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.